Hello and welcome to another episode of the E-commerce podcast. From Apple to Meta to the world's largest retailer, Sri Thirumalai has spent the last 15 years optimizing the invisible systems that move the world. As director of last mile delivery at Walmart, he's leading the charge on one of the most critical frontiers in e-commerce, getting products to customers faster, smarter, and more efficiently than ever before. If you've ever wondered how delivery windows are shrinking or how data powers logistics at scale, this episode is your deep dive. Welcome to the show, Sri.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Norbert. It's a pleasure to be on this podcast.
Thank you. Well, it's
Definitely.
so awesome.
Yeah.
Walmart is a big name actually in the industry. Everyone else knows it. It's a very important brand actually in e-commerce, and I'm so happy that you are here today and give us an interview talking about what moves you or what moves the goods actually. So
Yeah, absolutely.
please kindly introduce yourself a bit.
Yeah. My pleasure to be here, Norbert. Thank you for inviting me to this podcast. Definitely something I enjoy hearing to on my walks. And, you have such a wide and diverse set of guests. The energy that you bring and the insightful conversations that I hear in this podcast have definitely propelled me and inspired me to think about my work in various different ways. So thank you for that. Little bit of introduction about myself. I'm Sri. I'm a director of last mile delivery at Walmart. Originally, I was born and brought up in India. After completing my bachelor's and about working a couple of years in a consulting firm, I came over to the US. My first introduction to the US was Florida. So had a great time and then moved to the cold winter weathers in Chicago. During that time was working with Motorola as a consultant. And after about 7 years of doing IT work, I made the jump towards supply chain management with my MBA in supply chain management, and have been very fortunate to work with some really, really cool companies, giants like Apple, Meta, and now with Walmart.
Wow, what a career! And I hope that I did not get red because of the kind words you drove when you started. Many thanks for that. What drew you into that world of logistics? I mean, you worked at great brands, and logistics is so a broad topic. What drove you into that, and what kept you hooked?
Yeah, I think when I think of logistics, I think it's one of the most critical components of supply chain. And for me, what drives me in logistics is the customer impact. The logistics experience can make or break the customer experience. And throughout my journey in my career, it's kind of been my North Star to think about, hey, if we do this initiative or innovation in the logistics process or technology, how is this going to impact the customer? So having to see that kind of very real impact on customers and also the economy and the broader, GDP of a country, it's a massive field. I'm quite fascinated.
And you worked across those different industries, actually tech, retail, consulting. What core lessons have you brought with you to Walmart?
Yeah, that's a great question. It's one of my favorite quotes is from Steve Jobs, who says, "You cannot connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect the dots looking back." Right? This was his famous
Nice
speech
one. Yeah,
in
yeah. Uh-huh.
a famous speech and for I believe it was the Stanford graduation ceremony, and it's kind of very true, right? I worked in technology during my time at TCS and with Motorola. I learned how technology has the power to transform businesses. And during my time at Apple, I learned about the power of relationship building and running efficient supply chains. And at Meta, I imbibed and learned the culture of how, working in a move fast culture and trying things and moving fast is so much important for innovation. So I believe I'm able to bring all of those to Walmart. And Walmart by itself, has a fantastic working culture. And, it's a company that's a hallmark of supply chain for many, many years. So bringing all of these skills into this company, I find myself truly excited what the future holds and, get to work and, do some really innovative things within the company as well.
Absolutely. And you are leading actually the last mile delivery innovation at Walmart. What does last mile mean in 2025 and why it is so critical?
Yeah, absolutely. I believe last mile is one of the most critical components within logistics. Like I mentioned earlier, it's within logistics, it's the actual last phase of the logistics, that phase of the logistics that the customer sees. Um, as you can imagine, anytime let's say a delivery was delivered on time and it was perfect, you had a great experience. As a customer, it leads to delight. But at the same time, there are some possibilities that things could go wrong. And within that area, the defect is very much visible to the customer. A package got delivered to your neighbor's house instead of your house. Very real defect that happens on a day-to-day basis. That is something that we can really, really get better with the last mile delivery piece. To me, last mile delivery comes down to three key facets. One is speed, second is convenience, and the third is cost. With speed, customers want things faster, right? If you think back to maybe 5 years ago, I think 2-day delivery was the norm. Today, the norm is 1-day delivery or same-day delivery, or in some cases, even ultra-fast delivery, right? Less than 60 minutes, less than 30 minutes. We are seeing all these kind of cool innovations across the world where, the quick commerce is developing in a rapid manner. The second thing with convenience, not only thinking about speed, but thinking about what's truly convenient and what can last mile unlock for the customer. So think about all the different areas that we could benefit from last mile delivery. Not only is it just about delivering, but delivering different things. For example, pharmacy delivery is a key example. In the past, I don't think delivering someone's medicines to their doorstep was something that was as common. But it totally makes sense. If customers need anything delivered, especially when they are sick, it's their medicines.
Yeah.
So being able to unlock that is such a cool innovation as well. The last one is the cost. As you know, last mile is the most expensive leg within logistics. It's anywhere from 40 to 50% of the total supply chain cost is within last mile. And it makes sense because we are delivering, in urban markets, in, typically last mile conditions, you have to deliver a lot more to different nodes. So definitely makes sense. It's expensive. But it also poses opportunities because we can do a lot of intelligent, technology-driven innovations there, which could help reduce costs. So that's what last mile means to me.
Yeah, and that's so interesting. Last mile is what I have seen. I'm working a lot with 3PL warehouses or with shipping centers or even with companies actually where we do integrations to the shipping industry. And what I've learned is in every region, especially when you work with those forwarders, with those like UPS, FedEx, TNT, GLS Logistics, DPT here in Europe, DHL is also very common. And in every region, someone is good and someone is bad, when it comes to last mile delivery. So I have a couple of people or companies saying, we need to stop working with this and that 3PL warehouse. They are sending with this and that carrier, and this doesn't work good. I would prefer this and that carrier. And in other regions, it's completely the way around. It's the same carriers, but in a completely way around. Why is this? So why is this such a difference, and how do you resolve it in Walmart?
Yeah, that's a great question and great observation too, because last mile delivery is so local. I think to the examples that you mentioned, I've had similar experiences in the past too, where we'll see great performance in one region, one specific urban or suburban area, but then in a rural area, their efficiency might not be as great. So I think to me, it comes down to understanding strengths, understanding what best practices are being done in areas where it is successful. And for me, also technology is a great leveler, right? Traditionally, last mile has been heavily dependent on operators coming up with innovations on the ground. And that is so amazing. As I go on field visits, that's one of the first things that I observe is what are the operators and the managers on the ground in that local market are doing well. And it's so amazing what we can learn when we truly listen to the operators on the ground. Taking that and using that as a base for either process standardization across the network or embedding into our technology is so important. We have found success by taking these pilots and examples that we have done in certain regions and applying that across the network. But also, another key thing is not every region is the same, like you mentioned.
Yeah.
So we have to build that customization and give power to the operators also to make decisions and modify things that is local to their market. So those two things are, I think, some of the best practices that I've applied in improving, overall network-wide efficiencies.
And how has Walmart approached shrinking delivery windows without blowing up costs?
Yeah, it's such a key item, right? I think Walmart's core kind of proposition is save money and live better. And we follow everyday low price principle, and we apply this to everything within the company. And this applies to how we approach our work and initiatives as well. So towards this, as delivery windows shrink, as customers need faster deliveries, as customers need timely and convenient deliveries, we approach with also thinking, how can we drive density into the network?
Mm-hmm.
That could mean, how can we maximize the order pool for any given time to improve density? Taking advantage of really advanced batching and routing models to batch as many orders as possible while still meeting the customer SLA. Mm-hmm. And doing those in ways where we set really strong guardrails so that we don't end up delivering items late, or end up, especially with grocery delivery, end up delivering, we want to make sure that we deliver cold chain items before the cold chain timer expires. So having all those inputs, constraints, and outputs configured and leverage AI to let the route planning and batching run efficiently is something that we have been looking at closely.
And this leads me to my next question, AI. Now we are in that topic. It needed just a couple of minutes and we are there. So how does AI actually help you with trip planning and batching and cost optimization in real time? I mean, that's amazing,
Yeah, it's a massive impact, and we are still continuing to evolve and integrate more and more into the space. We leverage advanced machine learning models to give us accurate predictions of what real-time conditions are. So this could mean, hey, what is your traffic at 6 p.m. in a busy Chicago area? Or what is your traffic at, maybe a suburban area at 2 p.m.? Using these machine learning models to drive our inputs and route planning process is one way we are leveraging technology. The other piece where AI is playing a huge part is these advanced solver models which run multiple algorithms at the same time. And we call this an ensemble solver approach. And this really puts pits multiple algorithms and kind of comes up with the best solution and cherry picks the best solution that we want for each scenario. It's a really cool innovation. So we partner very closely with our data science teams to develop that. Thirdly, AI can be super helpful in simulating real life scenario. So typically we simulate different items using AI-driven platforms to understand what could be the potential impacts before fully rolling it out.
Very interesting approach. Absolutely. And what's your framework for deciding when to automate and when to humanize parts of the supply chain?
Yeah, that's again, it's such a key item, right? So we look at what's predictable, what's repeatable. So anytime we want to automate a given process within the system, we have to make sure that it is done with a very high level of accuracy. As you know, as these AI systems grow, there are areas where hallucinations could come in. There are areas where, we are using a probabilistic model that gets applied to a deterministic model, which we don't want, right? Some things needs to be deterministic and those should be driven by non-probabilistic models. So towards that, we look at very closely what's the repeat rates. And before we deploy a new technology, we measure the accuracy of that automation. And it needs to meet a very high bar before we deploy it in the process.
Yeah, that makes absolute sense, especially when you said data is the roadmap to efficiency. You're absolutely right. I fully need to underline that. I love that. I think that needs to work very close together, that you have really enough data before you start automating, I think, and really decide where it makes sense, right?
Yeah, absolutely. First, data has to be clean. Yeah. We have to have the data. So towards that, we make sure that each and every touch point within the supply chain, each and every touch point within last mile delivery, we are collecting data and ensuring that it's collected in a very clean way where it's easily accessible. And secondly, most companies, we have sometimes this tunnel vision when we are implementing new initiatives where, we look at what are the KPIs, key performance indicators? Those typically are your L1 metrics. But what we have really learned and a culture that we have improved is looking at not just L1 metrics, but looking at your level 2 and level 3 metrics, making sure as we are rolling out and measuring success of an initiative, we are not only looking at just those things, but looking at in the sideways also what could potentially go wrong. Are there unintended consequences of this change that might have a further repercussion? So really, really having a solid plan and also aligning with partners is so key, right? That's the human element here, is making sure as we are rolling out new initiatives, how is this impacting the associates? How is this impacting my drivers? How is this impacting customers? Making sure all the people are in the room, in the meeting, making sure their key metrics are also getting measured is such a key important thing.
Cool. Good answer. Thank you so much. And can you walk us through a moment when data changed a key decision in your strategy?
Yeah, definitely. I think thinking back to my time at Apple, this is during the time when I was working very closely with 3PL warehouses. I was managing the capacity planning for Apple's 3PLs. One of our 3PL vendors, we started seeing some throughput degradation over a period of few weeks. And as we were approaching the peak period, your typical Black Friday, Cyber Monday sales period, we didn't want to take that risk. The throughput was seeing some inefficiencies. It was reflecting in the pick pack ship rates. So we wanted to root cause the issue soon. And this is where the looking at L2, L3 metrics came in so key. When looking at throughput, we just didn't look at throughput. We looked at the holistic picture of that warehouse. And one thing that stood out was space utilization in that warehouse was running consistently above 95%. And in the period during which throughput was good, space utilization was well below 90%. And we quickly triangulated that. Hey, because this warehouse was getting filled with so many inventory to prepare for the peak period, not as much going out during the immediate time, we were seeing an inventory buildup, which led to space becoming a problem. And the operators on the floor were not actually able to efficiently move their forklifts, were not able to break pallets easily. So it totally makes sense, right? Someone sitting in a corporate office might not see that immediate impact. But someone on the operator would feel the pain of that space becoming too constrained. So we immediately started taking some short-term and long-term steps to mitigate the space there. Short-term, we were able to get some additional capacity, space capacity added by installing a mezzanine where additional inventory could go. We also moved some inventory to an off-site location so that it could be pulled back during the peak period. Long-term, we were able to successfully put together a proposal for going to a larger warehouse, which would have enough capacity to satisfy the needs of that company for the next 5 to 10 years. So that's one of those key things where, we were able to look at those metrics and make decisions that positively impacted the operations.
I love that answer so much because it shows a couple of things. First of all, it is very close to the reality. It is reality, actually. It's exactly what we should look at. It shows actually that you really need to look over a specific border or over the fence. Yeah, you need to take a look and see what fits together. And I think this is so important when we translate this to every kind of business aspect to really take the entire look. An agency could take a look. Why are there times when jobs work fine and projects go smoothly, and when do they not? What is the key reason with the same stack of people? An e-commerce company has the warehouse topic, but also the sales orders and sales processes. And that's so interesting when you look at data and at different level of data and matching everything together, you typically get an answer. And that's the fun fact also in the future when we have the AI to utilize that and let AI help us discover the answer by analyzing our data. So very, very interesting. What rising expectations around sustainability? How are you balancing speed with eco efficiency?
Yeah, great question. Luckily, what is good from driving down cost for the last mile is also good for the environment. We drive less miles. It's lower cost, but it's also less carbon footprint. We batch more orders into the same vehicle. It's one less vehicle we have to call to the distribution center to deliver those items. And with that in mind, we definitely want to make sure that we are also tracking, just like how we track cost savings, we also want to make sure we are tracking the carbon footprint. Going back to our metrics and understanding the key impacts, measuring and reporting on carbon footprint or carbon utilization is also such a key element. Mm-hmm. So those are some ways that we want to make sure that we are lowering the carbon footprint, taking eco-efficient decisions.
That's good. That's really good. I see more and more delivery cars here in Europe driving electric. What do you think about that? Is this also from your end? Do you see that as well? Is it coming more and more, or is it going in another direction?
It's definitely something that companies are investing in. It's electric vehicles definitely have lower carbon footprints. So definitely something that we are seeing gaining more and more adoption. Autonomous vehicles is something that also, in the future, we will see with autonomous vehicles, being super efficient from a routing standpoint. And those being electric as well is going to drive some efficiency.
Drones.
Drone, drones, yeah.
Yeah.
I think we both said at the same time.
Yeah.
Drone delivery, very efficient from a electricity utilization standpoint. So that's also gaining some wider adoption. So definitely a lot of avenues and a lot of energy behind ensuring that we are doing things in a very sustainable way.
Super. What's one supply chain myth you'd like to bust, especially when it comes to delivery promises?
Yeah, I think the supply chain myth, and this is probably something that in last mile we are very always a little bit guilty of. That faster is always better myth, right? Sometimes think customers want things faster, but sometimes they just want good value and they just want good consistency. So for example, if I'm having a party today, if I need my groceries and something urgent delivered, yes, I want that within 30 minutes. But if it's something that I don't need to use right away, it's a new pair of shoes that I think is cool, but could be delivered to me 2 days, and delivering to me in 1 day versus 2 day doesn't really make a difference. So understanding and giving those options to customers to make that choice is such a key element.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the favorite myth that I would like to bust. That faster is not always better.
Super. Very good. Very good myth. We're coming close to an end. So let me ask you my favorite question in the show. Who has taught you the most about e-commerce in your career?
Yeah, I've been very, very fortunate to have some amazing mentors and leaders. All through my journey with TCS, Motorola, Apple, Meta, and now at Walmart, just phenomenal leaders and peers who I worked with. I think probably early on in my Apple career, one of the best advisors and one of my mentors, he was the director of logistics at the time, Ben Cook. He told me, if you are stuck for a decision, if you are looking to make a decision on a tough, complex problem, always think what's right for the customer. That will show you the way out of that tough decision. So that's something that I've been able to incorporate and think about consistently through my day-to-day activities, and that's given me really good benefits.
I love that answer. It's really, and it's true. It's so true, absolutely. And it leads me perfectly to the question passed down from our last guest. Since this year we started asking our guests for a question that the next guest should answer. And this one is from Manas, the Senior Director of Fraud and Identity, LexisNexis Risk Solutions. And when I say secure customer trust, what comes to your mind?
Yeah, great question. Thanks to Manas for the great question. To me, it comes down to one word: reliability. Right? And when I say reliability, we earlier talked about consistency and how customers are, looking for consistency in all things the company delivers. Reliability is another factor in that. This is the reliability that the customer knows. Hey, even if that consistency misses one time or two times, that company will make it right for me. And early on in my career at Apple, this is something that also I learned is that, hey, the customer is always right. And we imbibed this in Walmart too. So how far the company is able to go to make the customer whole, make sure the customer is fulfilled, even if they had a bad experience. Recovering from that, showing that the company cares about their experience is such a key element. So yeah, to me, it's reliability.
Cool. Wow. Super answer. But now it's your turn. What's the one question you'd like to ask our next guest?
Yeah. I think one thing that's been on my mind I would love to get the views from the next guest is, how can e-commerce operations leverage sustainable practices as AI adoption increases? As
What
we
a
know,
question. Good. Just continue. It's good.
yeah, as AI adoption increases, there are going to be multiple impacts across the supply chain and specifically in e-commerce operations. So yeah, I would love to hear the views on how we can think about sustainable practices within AI adoption.
Many thanks. Was really a pleasure. So cool interview. Thank you very much, Sri. From route planning to retail transformation, Sri gave us a behind the scenes look at what it really takes to deliver modern e-commerce expectations. Sri, thank you for sharing your
Thank you.
insights, your experience, your vision, and the future of logistics. That's it for today, for today's episode of the e-commerce podcast. If you're looking to scale operations, cut frictions, and just think about what's possible, that's once worth to re-listen. And we here until next time. If you liked it, just come and hit the bell, give us a review, and come back for the next episode. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it, Norbert.
Thank you. And that's it for this episode of the Ecom Ops podcast. If you enjoyed listening and would like us find and interview more e-commerce operations experts, please search for Ecom Ops podcast in your favorite podcast listening app and then subscribe, rate, and review. Until next time.